This is TechVibe Radio, your front row seat to Pittsburgh's technology and innovation ecosystem. TechVibe is brought to you by Compunetics at Compunetics.com, Chorus Call at ChorusCall.com, Highmark at Highmark.com, Huntington Bank at Huntington.com, Kindling at TheKindlingAgency.com, PNC Bank at PNC.com, and Savier at Savier.com. Here are your hosts, Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, coming at you from the Huntington Bank studios.
Good morning. It is Sunday. We are so excited to bring you our next broadcast of TechVibe Radio. This is your front row seat in Pittsburgh's technology and innovation community. Today, I'm just really excited for the guests that we have because they come from Duquesne University. We all know Duquesne is a hunk of Pittsburgh. It's like bedrock of Pittsburgh, right? We know it, of course, for law. We know it for pharmacy and engineering. We don't always think about them for computer science, though. But they are building a really powerful department that we're going to be exploring today. And we're going to be hanging out with, I got two doctors with me today, which makes this extra fun, with Dr. Donald Simon and Dr. Raffaele Romagnoli. So doctors, I often get to say that. Welcome to the show today. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Dr. Simon, let's start with you because rumor has it you've been at Duquesne for 35 years now. I find that impressive.
Yes. No, I am a Pittsburgh native, born and bred. Went to Carnegie Mellon University for my bachelor's and also got a master's, bachelor's in applied mathematics, master's in mathematics. Then I went on to the University of Texas for my doctorate in computer science. My thesis work was in artificial intelligence, combining natural language processing and automated theorem proving.
Love it.
The idea was to read proofs in natural language and elementary number theory and check them, verify them, they were correct. And it's a rather interesting kind of area to work in. And I got to work with really some of the keenest minds in both those areas. My advisor was Woody Bledsoe, who was an expert in the field of automated theorem proving, very well known, of blessed memory. And then in 1990, I moved on to Duquesne, started off assistant professor. And one of the first things that we did when I was here is we started a graduate program in computational mathematics, which lasted for a while. And we had a number of graduate students, and I was the graduate director for that for a number of years. And then about 6 years ago, we thought it was time to do a master's program in computer science. We've always had a very strong undergraduate program, a lot of undergraduates, a very solid program. But we thought it was time to move on and basically open up the field to folks who really wanted to explore in more detail the area of computer science. So we started this master's program, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But that's basically my biography. So I'm now
I love it, man. I love it. And so Dr. Romagnoli, so rumor has it you're newer to Duquesne, which Dr. Simon is, and I feel like you may not be a Pittsburgh native. So tell me about yourself.
Yes. So I'm born and raised in Italy, and I got my PhD in Ancona, Università Politecnica delle Marche. And after that, I moved to Belgium, in Brussels, Université Libre de Bruxelles, where I had my postdoc and working in particular my expertise on the control system. So back there, then I was working on fast charging lithium batteries, and then I moved to the US to Carnegie Mellon University, the ECE, and then I started working on cyber physical systems. And in particular on resilient control against cyber attacks and guarantee safety of system, autonomous system, and so on. And after that, I joined last year here in Duquesne, and I just finished my first year.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on your first year. And I tell you what, I get so excited because we have programs like this. It brings talent from around the world right here to Pittsburgh. So, Raffaele, we're really glad to have you here being in Pittsburgh and bringing your expertise and having someone like Dr. Simon who's been here. First off, Dr. Simon, you were working on AI kind of stuff like long before we were calling it AI, for lack of a better term. I love hearing that you were doing that work 35 years ago to show Pittsburgh's strengths in this area, which I think is amazing that we've been working on this literally for a generation. And it's just now that people are really starting to understand the benefits and power of all things through chat and things like that. So yeah, this is why I think it's so amazing that Duquesne has some talent like you leading up with the computer science department. So
That's great.
Definitely. So Dr. Simon, tell me, I'm really curious, just give our listeners the overview. I think many of them are probably very surprised. Whoa, computer science at Duquesne. Yeah. What does that mean exactly? I think and I think the way your program works is very cool as well too. I've done a little research on what you guys are up to. Did some interviews, I think last year around this. So tell our listeners a bit about that.
Yes. So we have a master's program. It's been in existence for about 6 years. Again, it goes into greater depth in the computer science curriculum. It's building on a foundation that our students already come in with. We assume that they have some familiarity with computer science, usually about the equivalence of a minor, the programming background, data structures, cores, algorithms, computer organization, and operating systems. That's the kind of the basics that you need to enter the program. It's only 30 hours. And so it's not designed for someone who wants a fresh start and doesn't know anything and wants to start from the beginning. But someone who wants to build on to what they already know. And we go into the topics in much greater detail. We do a full spectrum of courses from algorithms, artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, databases, network security. So we really cover the full gamut. The program is designed for the working professional. That's always been one of the goals. So the classes, for the most part, certainly the core courses, are taught in the evening. Some of the other classes are taught in the early afternoon. As I say, it's a 30-hour program. If you're coming in, you can take, for example, 2 courses per semester and finish up in 2 years, 10 courses, so basically 5. If you want to do it faster, if you're more of a traditional student, you might take 3 courses a semester. We've had people finish up in a year and a half.
Wow. Okay.
And actually,
what I love about it is you guys are all about this. This really is geared towards some folks who are like, you're like a life learner. You're moving through and you realize you want to get these skills and you can go to an awesome institution like Duquesne. And you've got that flexibility because you're able to do it in the evening. So it really works towards someone that's already established a little bit that they want to continue and build those skill sets.
And you can go at your own pace. I mean, as I say, we've had people finish in a year and a half, and we've had one student who's a working professional, wants to take 1 course per semester. And so we'll take 10 semesters or 5 years, and that's fine with us.
Absolutely. Very cool stuff. I just know this is a resource out there to me is huge. And if people just go to duq.edu, they can navigate in and learn all about the department and the criteria and just learn, my goodness, the faculty like you and Dr. Romagnoli hanging out there, that I think makes it really attractive. We only got a couple minutes before break. I'm just curious from Dr. Romagnoli, like what made Duquesne an exciting place for you to come and do what you do? Because I feel like folks like you can work wherever you want in the world, but you're choosing Duquesne to do this.
I really enjoy my spirit here in Pittsburgh, but then being in this department so my expertise is sometimes orthogonal what is in computer science, but I believe that now what we do in control, and since the interaction with the physical system and with the software, it's important being here and try to build something that can provide students also not the basic on computer science, but how to interface with the new challenges, because now we have autonomous vehicles. We interact a lot. The software is interacting a lot with the physical environment, and students and the future generations should know how those parts they can interact. So what is the cyber part doing and what is the physical part doing of the system, and how they can interact in order to preserve important feature like safety and to prevent a possible bad situation also due to the exposure to cyber attacks. So today we have many threats that we have to take care of.
Yeah, no, this is so fascinating. And we're going to come back and dive in about really what's happening here in Pittsburgh's tech industry and how Duquesne's playing this role in providing the talent, attracting talent like you to come here and solve these really tough problems. I'm so excited to be hanging out with you guys today. We're taking a quick break. This is Jonathan Kirsten with the Pittsburgh Technology Council. Go to pghtech.org and check out all the ways we love helping your tech company succeed.
A strong work culture is the invisible force that binds employees to each other, to the company, and to their work. It's linked to better business outcomes, happier employees, and increased retention.
How we work and where we work continue to evolve in almost every way, yet our human need for connection and purpose remains. Help your employees connect and thrive by evolving your culture to support your team, regardless of how or where they work. So discover how the Kindling Culture Agency can transform your company's culture at sparksomething.big.com. That's the Kindling Culture Agency at sparksomething.big.com.
Compunetics is the leading developer of unified voice, video, and data collaboration and conferencing applications for the service provider, government, and unique workflow applications. The Summit Olympus and Evergreen platforms, driven by their encrypted user interfaces, enable powerful and secure collaboration. Combined with world-class support and innovative professional services, Compunetics delivers the right solution every time. Learn more at compunetics.com. Your dial is set to TechVibe Radio, brought to you by Compunetics, Chorus Call, Highmark, Huntington Bank, Kindling, PNC Bank, and Xavier. Here are your hosts, Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, coming at you from the Huntington Bank studios.
So glad you're spending Sunday morning hanging out with me on TechVibe Radio. I absolutely love giving you this front row seat to just all the awesome and magnificent stuff happening in Pittsburgh technology ecosystem. And a big part of that ecosystem are the schools that educate the next level of talent, that attract talent from around the world to come here and help solve tough problems. And I'm talking about Duquesne University and their computer science program. They've been growing this for the past 6 years now. And they're attracting some really cool talent like Dr. Raffaele Romagnoli, who's joining us today. He's all the way from Italy, living here in Pittsburgh, doing what he's doing. And we have Dr. Donald Simon here, who's been doing this for 35 years at Duquesne. I love your longevity there, Dr. Simon. I think that's just so cool. You're like a hunk of bedrock within the bedrock there at Duquesne.
I will say that I'm the second oldest member of the department.
All right.
Second most senior. And Raffaele is obviously the newest.
Yes.
And so it is a good contrast.
Yeah. And Dr. Simon, what's it like having Raffaele come to Pittsburgh and
he
like next generation, see how smart he is and the new ideas he brings?
He's amazing. His work is really thoughtful and interesting. He's attracted a lot of students, and I know he works with them in particular in his research, which is always very useful to do for students to get some research under the belt. Even though our program is not a thesis, it's a non-thesis option, it still helps to go ahead and get your feet wet and get research experience. Yeah, we're delighted to have him, and it's a growing faculty, and new people bring in new ideas, and that's always important to keep the department fresh.
100%, man. And I feel like Duquesne's always making the right moves to make this type of stuff happen. And being able to talk about this today just gets me really excited. And you know me, man, I've been nerding out on Pittsburgh's tech sector for nearly 30 years now. I've just seen the ups and downs and the all around. But Dr. Simon, I think you had me beat by a little bit on some of this. And I just would love to tap into your brains about what you're seeing here in Pittsburgh, what's inspiring you, and just Pittsburgh as a tech town in general, where we see the research going on, but also the companies that are being built and so forth.
The thing in the field that I started off in was artificial intelligence, and the changes are amazing.
Isn't it?
I mean, as I said, it's a natural language processing, and these days it's completely different. So they're completely different. We're not doing grammar-based fragile systems anymore, doing large language models, doing statistical processing. And the results are evident to all of us. We have systems where one of the definitions of artificial intelligence is making computers work like they do in the movies. And I grew up on Star Trek.
That's awesome. I love that. Yes.
Where you can talk to the computers and you don't need to type in, and they're understanding natural language at near human capability, which is very impressive. The interesting thing is the other field I was in is automated theorem proving, which actually hasn't changed that much in the last 30 years, but it's a much slower progress. But in natural language, in learning, machine learning, translation, and Pittsburgh's been a leader in the area. I can think of Duolingo, for example.
Sure. Best example out there, I think, when you mentioned him like that, without a doubt.
Yeah. And it's just amazing progress. And we're glad to be part of it.
Yeah, definitely a big part of it. Dr. Romagnoli, I think about, you were talking a little bit about cybersecurity and things that you're working on. I think about Pittsburgh as being one of these core centers where a lot of cyber was developed early on with CERT over at CMU and so forth. what are you seeing out there in terms of, or can maybe tell me more about what you're researching and working on in terms of cyber and so forth in your work?
Yes, one of the recent research projects I was working on the so-called software rejuvenation. We are protecting system by on real-time rebooting the runtime software. So imagine we have a drone and then we periodically reboot the control software while the drone is operating. This can provide some, even though we have interaction with the physical system, but we can provide protection against cyber attacks. And then we can use this rebooting in a proactive way. And this is one of my projects that I was working since I was a CMU, but now I'm keeping developing this, moving in a different direction, also like using network control on edge cloud computing that I believe it can be very interesting, particularly for manufacturing systems where you have old, for example, plant, and then you want to improve with new technology, with new AI, and then you can take advantage on the edge cloud in order not to control your system. And that I want to also mention that working on artificial AI, artificial intelligence, how to include some control theory that we can provide some guarantees, because that's the big challenge that we have now with AI and machine learning. How can we guarantee? We know that we can do amazing things, but how can we guarantee safety? How can we guarantee security? What happens if we have cyber attacks? So how can we provide that? And then based on my background and collaboration with other disciplines, I'm trying to figure out how it's possible. And here in Duquesne, the parliament with the different disciplines like math and computer science, so I think it's a great environment.
Yeah.
Besides all the other schools here at Duquesne.
Yeah. However, are you and Dr. Simon then comparing notes, for lack of a better term? I love it.
We're actually in different fields.
Okay.
And these days I've been doing more work in computational biology. But if I can take an aside, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the work of Dr. Patrick Yola, who's currently on a Fulbright scholarship in Hungary, who does work in authorship attribution and cybersecurity. And so he does things like you read in the text and you can detect who wrote it. And there are folks, for example, in the FBI and in the Secret Service with whom we've worked with who actually use that. And one of the things that he's noted for is the outed J.K. Rowling when she wrote a detective novel under a pseudonym. He's the one who cited the New York Times, ran it through his software program and said, yeah, there's like a 80% chance that she's the author of this.
Oh my goodness.
And when she was presented with that's when she admitted that, yes, it was a book that she had written.
So I did not hear that. That is like a Pittsburgh first. Another Pittsburgh first. That's pretty amazing. I'm glad you brought that point up. It shows you that the faculty that you guys have there, you're doing some pretty awesome work. That's amazing.
And he, like Dr. Raffaele, brings a lot of students into his work as well and has a number of graduate students working for him.
So I feel like this is almost like, it's like a snowball gathering more snow and getting bigger and bigger as you keep doing these things. You guys are becoming this nice pillar here in Pittsburgh where you're doing some really transformative work. It's changing the world in so many ways. And I just find this absolutely amazing. I can't believe we're almost out of time, but we've got a couple minutes left. I'm just really curious about just, if you can just briefly touch on us a little bit about so much of the magic in Pittsburgh happens because of our great schools and how we can then bridge those over to from academia over to the rest of the world, for lack of a better term, into industry and so forth. How much does that excite you guys to be able to take what you're doing and start being able to work with industry to take this research and make benefit of it to the public, for lack of a better term?
Well, it's exciting. We do work with the industry directly, but more so we do through our students.
For sure.
We require an internship. So our students work with local companies. They often end up in job offers. About half of our students stay in Pittsburgh working with, there are folks in a number of startups.
Okay.
It's always exciting.
I'm hearing that.
And a number of them are in AI, not surprisingly, since
of course.
field. And we look forward with continuing collaborations with folks in the Pittsburgh area.
First off, I got to say, I'm impressed. I love it when you're able to retain some of this talent because you're educating folks and they can go anywhere in the world they want, but know that they can stay here in Pittsburgh and make a great living for themselves and be part of our ecosystem. Gets me excited. So I tip my hat to the great work you guys are doing today. I wish I had another 20 minutes to talk with you guys because there's so much. We're going to definitely have you back because it's so much fun to explore how Duquesne is becoming this major player in computer science here at Pittsburgh. Dr. Simon and Raffaele Romagnoli, thank you for hanging out with me this morning, having a little bit of a geek out as far as that is.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Absolutely. For sure. And just remind everyone, go to duq.edu. That's the website for Duquesne. You can see all different courses they have, but go over to the computer science section. You will have some fun nerding out over there for sure. After that, go to pghtech.org and check out all the ways the Tech Council can help your tech company succeed. This has been Jonathan Kirsten with the Pittsburgh Technology Council. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your Sunday, everybody.
Thanks for geeking out with us on TechVibe Radio. Tune in next Sunday for more tech and innovation stories right here from Pittsburgh. TechVibe is brought to you by Compunetics at compunetics.com, Chorus Call at choruscall.com, Highmark at highmark.com, Huntington Bank at huntington.com, Kindling at thekindlingagency.com, PNC Bank at pnc.com, and Xavier at xavier.com. And we're always coming at you from the Huntington Bank Studios.